back already for round 2 of NASCAR's Thunder at the Eastern Creek this afternoon, and it's going to be some sort of a race, Billy Cannell.
You know, the first one was a doozy. Had a little bit of everything in it. This one should have a little bit more, but there's no doubt in my mind for all the folks watching by television this afternoon, stay with us. That last 15 laps, Alan Grice, will be phenomenal because it's for the big bucks.
Yes, it is. This race is still important. They've got to. This race determines the grid positions for the 15 laps, which is the point scoring and the money race. So it's still important that if you want to win that 15, you need to be on the front of the grid. And the front of the grid here, of course, we've got probably the 2 most experienced road racers in the field, which is about as you'd expect. But that makes for great racing at the front. There's no doubt about that. Charlie O'Brien's got the advantage of being on pole for this race. That means that he's the one that decides when to hit the accelerator, and you just get that little jump. He should be first in the first corner. Jimmy, by the same token, was wrestling during the last race with a broken gear stick. He'll be have a much nicer car to drive this time. I don't think he'll go mad early. Jimmy will just let O'Brien set the pace. It's 20 laps in these sorts of heavy cars on these sorts of tyres. That's a reasonably long way around here. So I don't think enormous fireworks at the first corner, but then this is motor racing, who knows?
You know, one of the guys that just blew an engine is on his way back to Perth, and a tough break for the car number 7, Barry Blake, the Buick Regal. Blake, no second engine. He has to head back to Perth, and we're sorry that we lose him out of the NASCAR field.
Half a lap before the green flag, and in the pits is Ian Campbell.
Yeah, just talking about Barry Blake, Bill, and what he actually did was dropped a fan belt, caused the engine to seize, so the McDonald's car is going all the way back over the west coast. Quickly, David Gross in there with massive front end damage. They're going to try and get it out for the 15-lap final. We'll start from the rear of field on that one. Paul Freestone has a piston failure with the mobile Pontiac. He's in the garage at the moment. The good news, though, is Kim Jane, after that big clout in the last event, is back out there. He had 2 problems, the damage to the sheet metal and also a broken gear stick. And last but not least, Ronnie Goodman, 2 trips to the pits before in the West Coast Cooler car. He's now fixed his problem. It was a broken linkage in the gearbox that he's going. And one last thing, John Faulkner has had a gearbox change. He's gone from the Jericho. He's now got a T10.
Okay, the field now starting to line up behind the pace car. Only 2 corners remaining before they go.
I noticed that Faulkner's lined up on the back of the grid. That can only be because I would suggest that he's changed a major component in the car. And the Borg-Warner T10 that he's put in is not anywhere near as strong, nor probably has good enough ratios as the other cars.
The yeah, Alan, the T10, very quickly, is intended to be used only on the Thunderdome.
Yes, it's intended as a top gear gearbox. The Jericho, the other American box that the other cars are running here, is much more suited.
There we are, riding inside the cockpit, right in the seat with George Elliott as he works and maneuvers the steering wheel and works the keyboards and gets ready to go up through the gearbox now as they come off this hill. There's George inside the Chevy Lumina in car number 55, and we're ready for a start, John.
And George is about to say yes as the cars come down the straight, ready for the start. The pace car's off the track. The green flag's poised, ready to go. It waves and they're racing, and Charlie O'Brien charges into the lead. Jim Richards right beside him on the outside. O'Brien looks like he's got the corner covered. Richards doesn't give up, nosing up alongside the side O'Brien. What can happen up here as they hit the brakes for the first time?
Here comes Ian Thomas right alongside. He'll drop kick somebody back into 4th. He'll come up to 3rd, side by side, wheel to wheel. Somebody's got to give. O'Brien takes the low road, goes to the inside. He gets the lead. Then comes Richard in 2nd. Ian Thomas trying to maintain that number 3 spot. It's a wild battle.
Max Dumsey also in it in car 5. And it is just sensational racing, isn't it? O'Brien now takes just that little bit of a security gap on Jim Richards, which is what you'd expect from Richo, wouldn't you? When he lets everything settle down and the tyres get a bit warm, Alan Grice.
Yes, he will. Yeah, he'll just hold it together. And certainly some action from the back with Faulkner, and I'm pretty sure it's Barry Graham. There's all sideways coming through the flip-flop. But those cars are both moving through the field. They'll come into reckoning in a couple of laps.
Well, Barry Graham has had a lot of seat time in the last 12 months. He's been over in America working with Richard Petty at Charlotte Motor Speedway. One car is off the course, up through the left turns near the S's. Well, it looks like the 08 car,
That's
John.
Graham Smith.
Anyway, Graham has had a lot of seat time on the ovals overseas, but no time on a road course. So he's got to learn this track just like the rest of them.
Race order, Charlie O'Brien leads, only half a second between him and Jim Richards, as you can see there, as Richards noses down under brakes. 44 goes off Adam Pay.
Adam Pay's off. Faulkner is also charging through the field, Super T10 gearbox and all. Pay's
coming right back onto the asphalt, and it's interesting to hear Alan Grice say that Faulkner is charging through the field with that unusual transmission. We all know a Jericho is the best transmission to use on this facility.
Yeah, especially made for this type of racing, much stronger. But there again, having said much stronger, he broke second gear in it in the first race.
Adam Pay, when he went off the track, then threw away 6th position and is now at the rear of the field.
Max Dumsky back there in the 3rd spot. We're getting a report from around the track. There is a certain area from some of our camera position that some raindrops are beginning to fall. Now this is a better than a mile and a half around in miles, but it's over. You can see the rain beginning to pebble on the windshields, guys.
Yes, down this front straight, no sign of rain at all, but just over the back of the circuit, it's obviously a very localized shower, and it doesn't look like it'll move through looking from here, from our vantage point.
I agree with you, Alan. We're going to stay green, there's no doubt. And besides, it'd take a whole lot of rain to slow these down. They'll keep the course dry like they're running as it is, John.
Yeah. We're now down to lap times of 1 minute 20 for the slower competitors. But the faster guys, we're getting reports of them coming through at about 6s, which is about right at this stage, isn't it, Alan, with reasonably full tanks?
Yes, about 2 seconds off qualifying. But I think
whoa,
back into the wall.
81 car, hard slide.
Peter Galvin in the Pontiac Grand Prix.
And he hit that wall a nail and a half backwards as he went into it, ricocheted, but he's all right. He's moving around in the car. Probably just hurt his pride a bit, huh, Alan?
Well, we saw Ian Campbell's report earlier that told us what sort of safety facilities are within this car, in these cars, to really protect the drivers. So to take a fair old thump for a driver to be seriously injured in an NASCAR.
Absolutely. Well, O'Brien continues to lead. There's just a section of the course under yellow. Here's the way they're running at the end of 3 laps, working lap number 4 of a 20-lap segment here. Charlie O'Brien leads, Jim Richards second, Max Dumsdy is in 3rd.
And look who's 4th.
Faulkner is up in 4th with that new transmission. He changed the gearbox. Up in 5th is Ian Thomas.
Look at this. It's Jim Richards up the inside of Charlie O'Brien. Absolutely sensational stuff.
Takes the lead away from O'Brien for the first time, and O'Brien's not an easy guy to get around, is he, Alan?
No, he's certainly not. He just went a little wide. Jim saw the hole, straight in. There was no contact, no touch. It's early days, and we'll look at both cars off the ground there, completely off the ground over the top of the hill.
Airborne over the top of the hill. In 5th, as we said, Ian Thomas. Riding 6th is Gene Cook. George Elliott is back up to 7th. Kelly Jane is in 8th. Running 9th is Robinson. 10th is Barry Graham, and that's the top 10.
Oh, and now the battle for 3rd position between Max Dumsdy and John Faulkner. Just look at Faulkner now starting to throw out the challenge to the reigning NASCAR champion.
Faulkner's in the Newline car as they come down to the start-finish line. Here, Faulkner just getting right back. Oh, O'Brien wanted to get back into the lead. He made a move down on the inside of Richards that not too many drivers other than a Dale Earnhardt will try to move down in that corner. That's a good way to get yourself nailed out into the wall of the grass.
Richards now has his corner very well covered, Alan.
Yeah, that's a very good line through. That's his normal racing line through there, and it's obviously a quick line. And it looks as though Faulkner's had a bit of a tap, yes, and he's through into 3rd. Had a bit of a tap in the rear. It looks, that rear left guard doesn't look terribly pristine, but and look at him close going over the flip-flop. I mean, he really picked up a lot of yards there. He's certainly on a charge.
Faulkner is the man who's wound up at the moment. In front of him, these other 2 drivers are stroking it along. Very fast, mind you, but stroking it along as 81 tries to get back into the race. Peter Galvin. 14 is also off. Neville Lance in the Ford Thunderbird. Slumber King.
He's telling those fire crews, don't hold me up, guys. I'm okay. I want to refire this thing. I want to get back into it if it's at all possible. Please don't hold me up.
John Faulkner has now joined the slipstream. The 3 cars now nose to tail.
Waved yellows going into the corner.
So that's going to hold them in single file through here.
Yeah, they can't pass while those yellow flags are being displayed at them.
But as soon as they pass the incident itself, then it's open go again.
There's Faulkner. We're getting, of course, a view of his car, the Newline car. That is an Oldsmobile that he's driving, and the car's just handling, and it seems to be working excellent. I mean, to change from a Jericho to another transmission, are you kind of surprised, Alan?
Yes, I am. I'll be more surprised if it does this 20 lapper and then another 15. But then this is motor racing, anything can happen. But that box is not as strong as the box that he replaced.
Faulkner looking for any way he can find through Charlie O'Brien.
Yes, he's not content to sit. He wants to be second, then he wants to be first. And he doesn't see any reason in resting the tyres, and I tend to sympathise with him a bit. It's a motor race after all, not a real ability trial.
John, does that Thunderbird look a little bit bigger than these other cars to you? If you look at it on your screen and broad-mindedly here at the circuit, look how much it'll fool you. It isn't any bigger, but it does look bigger, doesn't it? That's a Ford Thunderbird, as they call it, and that car was made very famous.
Here he comes, Faulkner down the inside.
Very decisive and doesn't lock up. Very decisive move. That was a good move.
I thought O'Brien was coming back up to give him a tap and couldn't catch him. Faulkner just hit the throttle and went on.
I'm sure it went through Charlie's head.
Talking about the Thunderbirds, Bill Elliott made it quite famous and quite popular back in America when he had the $3.5 million year and won all the bonuses. That's what made that particular Thunderbird be an acey-deucey race car in NASCAR, and it still is today. O'Brien is proving that, and a lot of the Australian teams are proving that with the Thunderbirds, but Pontiacs are strong, so are the Oldsmobiles and the Luminas in this field.
See, look at Faulkner's close right up on Jim. I admire the approach that Faulkner has to his motor racing. There's no points, there's no money. As we said, there are grid positions on this race, but it's a motor race, and Faulkner's out there to motor race, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's going to take a position any time he likes, and I admire that. I think that's he's a racer.
0.3 of a second now separates John Faulkner from Jim Richards. Another 1.01 back to Charlie O'Brien. Then comes Max Dumsney, then George Elliott.
And O'Brien can't do nothing with Richards nor Faulkner right now. He's just got to be patient, play the waiting game, step back there and watch him perform.
Yes, Faulkner just went in a little bit hot and got a bit wide, lost a bit of space there, but he's straight back on the pace, and he's very quick through this section.
Just interesting, isn't it, that O'Brien, we're riding with him now in the BP Visco car, has dropped back just that 1 second, Alan.
Yes, I think Charlie probably sees that he's going to run third in this race unless the guys in front make a mistake, so he's just going to try and look after it.
Could he be saving the car for the big pay dirt final 15?
I'm pretty sure he is. I'm pretty sure he is.
You know, Charlie married a Tennessee girl, John.
Yes,
from the hills of Chattanooga, Tennessee. That's up near Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forward.
What I'd like to ask you, Bill, is does that give him a green card so he can go NASCAR racing in the States?
He's already done it. He's been over like Alan. Alan didn't have a green card, but Alan can come now. He don't need one. He's a politician over here, so they'll greet him in Washington.
How are the grits in Tennessee, Bill?
Oh, they put some butter and cheese in them. Anybody can eat. Little hog jaws, too.
There's Charlie sideways into that corner. He's not taking it that easily. He just went in a little hot. The tail just stepped out a little. And that can also be caused not only by the rear tyres losing a bit of effect, but also when the front brakes get hot, and they're the first ones to get hot because they do probably 70 or 75% of the work. When they get a little hot, they tend to fade just a little. Then the rears appear to work too much, and they can just kick your tail out on the way into a corner. I think we saw that then.
Now, you may think that that Faulkner is in fact dropping back a little bit from Jim Richards. It's not the case. Jim Richards is sprinting away from John Faulkner. According to our stats timing system, Richards has just hit the first 1 minute and 4 second lap of this race, right down on qualifying. So Richards, in fact, saw Faulkner coming and really squeezed on the gas and has just charged away from John Faulkner. So Richards proving that he can master this race from the front.
In the Bob Jane T-Mart car, no doubt about it. Richard is strong. So is, I mean, I can't get over how strong Faulkner is in this second leg of 20 laps here around the Eastern Creek facility. Now, Charlie O'Brien's tires seem to want to slide with him a little bit more, Alan. Don't look like they're getting the bite they used to get through the corners.
No, it's obviously got something to do with his setup of the car too, I think. There's no doubt that all the cars are losing a little bit of effect, although you look at that lap time from Jim Richards on lap 9, and you would certainly wonder, but then Jim has been in the position playing it from the front, looking after his tyres. Now we're looking back through the field a little more. There's certainly plenty of activity there.
This is Ron Goodman with car 17, Tony Southwell right on his tail. Ron Goodman in 05. Then, of course, we come back here to John Faulkner. who's starting to get very much mixed up with these back markers.
Now comes the traffic. Now comes, yeah, this is a
Here
little
comes
bit like chalk lotto when you come up to some of this lap traffic.
You better be throwing the dice too, because any one of these guys could cut you off and cause you to have an accident, John,
yes.
and it's very close. That's what we're talking about.
Yep.
They can knock you right out of it just like that. Field continues to wind, continues to manipulate this facility here at Eastern Creek, with Richards leading, Faulkner second, O'Brien is third, Max Dumsney is fourth, fifth is George Elliott. Good run for Elliott, who had problems in that first 20-lapper. Barry Graham is sixth, seventh is Kim Jane, eighth is Gene Cook, Ian Thomas is ninth, Graham Smith up to 10th.
Well, there was a perfect example of what Alan was saying there when Southwell locked up going into the left-hander and went straight ahead with Faulkner on the outside of him, and Faulkner had to take a wide line just to avoid the potential of the two cars touching.
He's averaging 111 kps per lap. Now, you know, you calculate that in your speed as well as miles per hour. I mean, gee whiz, that's not bad around this circuit.
Down the main straight now, Jim Richards has taken good advantage of the traffic to open up just a bit of a security gap on John Faulkner. 1.4 seconds between them as they cross the start-finish line. Charlie O'Brien a further 5.5 seconds in arrears.
Richards in a Pontiac, Faulkner in an Oldsmobile, O'Brien in a Ford. Three different major products right there. Two of them are General Motors products, one is Ford. But you got a Pontiac, an Oldsmobile, and a Ford. 1, 2, 3.
Faulkner's just officially turned in a 4-4 as well, John.
So Faulkner fighting back now, seeing the challenge that Jim Richards has thrown out from the front, and has come back with his own 4-4, which comes right down on what must be the lap record here for Nascar's around the Eastern Creek flat track course.
We are just over halfway in this event. 11 laps are gone. They're working lap number 12 of 20. Let me give you a rundown of 11th through 19th. Running 11th is Robinson. 12th would be Adam Pay. This young fellow's come a long way from Nascar, there's no doubt about it. 13th is Benzo Mead. 14th would be Ron Goodman. 15th, Tony Southwell. 16th is John Stepanek. 17th, David Gross. And 18th would be Peter Galvin. Running 19th would be
Neville Lance.
Neville Lance, yeah. That is correct. So there are your top 19. We gave you the top 10 earlier. We took you on back 11 through 19 in the field.
Faulkner really using all the track and then some, Alan.
Yes, he is. And he just had a little bit of a balk on that corner, but he just about made it up. He hasn't given this away. Look how quick he is in that flip-flop. He really is quick there. And he's right all over the top of Jim now.
Here we go.
He could have a go on the way into this corner or try for a slip on the way down, because I don't think he's missing on power. No, he should hang back and just come at Jim through this corner, slipstream him all the way down. Jim won't crush him up against the wall.
Well,
no, he'll take him to within 3 thou of the wall, but Jim won't actually crush him into the wall.
but look at this. The Richards car has the grunt down the chute, doesn't
Yes,
it?
it
Because
does.
he doesn't.
But here he comes.
Here he comes.
Fastest part of the
He's
racetrack.
underneath, yeah. Good pass.
And a new race leader, it's John Faulkner, using the wrong gearbox, having had all sorts of problems in the first round, but still John Faulkner doing it on sheer horsepower and sheer internal fortitude.
He's gone
Too wide.
Jim's back
underneath
in.
him.
Yep.
Now that's what you call flat tracking. Hear them manhandle those tires. They squeal, lock them down. I mean, they literally put the pressure on those tires from that 3,500 pounds of weight, 2,000 kilos. Those guys were manhandling those machines.
And Alan Grice, you'd say that what happened there is after the brakes did all the work that they could, simply Faulkner didn't have enough front left in the gearbox to be able to use compression to pull himself down.
Yeah, and he just went in a little hard, slid a little wide, and Jim moved straight inside the apex. But Faulkner set up for exactly the same pass again. No, he's not.
No, he's got it.
He's well held.
Got it.
Yeah,
got it. Well done.
Okay, now he's got to just curl it, because that rear right tyre is now very hot after a slide like that. He's got to spend at least a lap being very straight, very clean, and then come back at Jim again.
14 laps down, 6 remaining in this race. So about a lap now of respite before Faulkner can again throw out the challenge. Charlie O'Brien, 5.5 seconds behind Faulkner. Will he take the advantage to try and close up a little bit on this lap?
Well, find out what Faulkner's going to do, and Jim Richards. Richards back out front. Faulkner goes wide in that corner. O'Brien just playing a waiting game. There will be a 15-lap segment after this 20 laps. There'll be 5 to go in this one when they come back to the start-finish line. But as Alan said, Faulkner will cool those tires down. Once he gets those Goodyears cool, he can make a run back on the Richards car before this one's over.
Richards just so smooth. Same line every lap, lap after lap. He really has this racetrack ironed out.
Yes, no, he's very consistent, and that's a sign of a top driver, a guy that hits the same spot every time, but depending on the condition of his car and the track, can change that line and then still hit that spot every time. Almost like a golf swing, you know, it's got to be the same every time, except mine isn't.
Alan's been learning to play golf here lately. I mean, I'm really surprised at him.
Bowles is next. Jim Richards leads the motor race. 1.35 seconds behind is John Faulkner. Charlie O'Brien, in fact, instead of advancing on the field, goes back down the field, now 7.2 seconds behind.
All right, let's set the drama a little bit for the folks at home watching by television, Alan. As we wind down in the final 4 laps of this NASCAR event, there will be the 15-lap showdown at Eastern Creek Corral here in Australia. And this town's not going to be big enough for one winner. We both know that. We've said it before. What will be the drama in the pits? It'll be the man that's got the best setup, the best chassis, best set of tires. All of this has to ride on this final 15 laps.
Yes, it does, but they've had a really good look at the place and the conditions and the track and the tyres. Now, they've had 2 laps of 20 at the end of this. Mind you, this race is far from over, but they've had a really good look at it. If they can change the cars, slightly different setups, get a little more out of them, we should see the cars quicker.
Well, it was a beautiful shot from our helicopter just above Eastern Creek. And believe it or not, there's a guy on a harness hanging out of that helicopter with a camera at arms and shooting. There's that aerial shot. And what a magnificent piece of footage that is. Back across the start-finish line. 16 are gone. We're working lap 17. We're not far away from a white flag. Charlie O'Brien is the 3rd place car that we're looking at, the BP Visco car.
And he's giving away about a second a lap to the 2 cars in front of him. But he's holding station on Max Dumsney, who's in 4th position, who's running some 22 seconds behind the leaders. Then comes Barry Graham and George Elliott. So O'Brien, I think, now has decided very much to conserve his car for the finish. Look at Faulkner slingshots over the dogleg, and he's alongside Richards once again, down the inside, and takes over the lead.
He hung back, cooled the tyres, and then a little bit of a balk for Jim, and he's attacked straight in there now. Let's see him come down the straight.
They just lapped the 9th place car in the field, Ian Thomas. Now that's doing something. Here's that battle.
Richards back on the inside.
Richards side by side. They touch, they brush. They're downhill. They're coming to the flat bottom of the straightaway.
Jimmy's waving his fist at him.
They are really upset at one another.
Yeah, Jim's waving the fist.
That's very unusual for Jim to get himself that angry, isn't it, inside a motor car?
Yes, it is.
But Faulkner holds the lead now as they come up to the stop corner. Now, remember, Faulkner's got a crook gearbox. He can't use the gearbox to give himself any sort of retardation. He must go wide. Yes, he does. Richards goes underneath him, side by side.
They touch again.
And then again.
Again, they rub sheet metal door to door.
Richards won't give way. Richards could have backed off there because Faulkner had the inside run, but there was no way Richards was going to give way to him.
And another lap car coming up, I guess. I hope he zigs at the right time and doesn't zag.
Through that chicane, they're about to lap another back marker. Richards, all of a sudden, Faulkner and Richards, they both go single file by the back marker. Here comes Faulkner up alongside Richards. He's going to try it on the outside. Gets a wheel alongside as they make this corner. They touch again.
41 is the car now in front. That's John Stepanek. I guess panic is the operative word as he looks at his rear vision mirror and sees those 2 cars coming through. Now Faulkner looks for a way through. It'll be down the end of the straight this time, Alan, coming out of the draft. Can he do it?
I don't think he will. He'll try Jim under brakes at the end of the straight, and this time maybe won't go wide and let Jim through for the 3rd time during this race.
Take a listen to this. They're working the 18th lap. When they get back to the start-finish line, white flag will be out. They're in heavy traffic, guys.
Oh, they're blocked in, yeah.
This traffic can do anything to them. Oh, look at Richards, just threads his way straight through them and takes Faulkner with him, unfortunately for Richards.
Some magnificent camera work from high above Eastern Creek gives us the vantage point to watch these 2, Richards and Faulkner, battle for 1 and 2. They're trying to settle this 20-lapper to see who will start on the point for the final 15 laps for the big dollars on this delightful Sunday afternoon in Australia.
Gene Cook now is the driver in front. Faulkner locks up everything at the back. Cook slightly balks. Faulkner only slightly, but just enough. And Richards brushes the outside of the track using all the bitumen and then just a little bit more as they come down to take the white flag. 2 kilometres remaining at Eastern Creek.
Here comes Faulkner.
Can he do it?
Well, I'm sure he's going to have another shot. He'll pull him up, I guess, through this this break at the end. I guess by the time we get back to the start, coming back onto the straight, the last corner, I'd suggest Faulkner would be all over him because he is quicker through the flip-flop, the change from the on the circuit shortcut.
Oh, Faulkner sideways. Yeah, the tyres have gone off for Faulkner.
Yeah.
He just can't make them work. And I'd say that's the motor race.
Gone again.
Yeah.
He doesn't
Very
have,
loose.
He doesn't have time to cool him down either.
he doesn't.
Alan said.
Yeah.
So that's going to put him out of contention for the win.
Yeah, even in the melee that's been going on, even in the racing they've been doing, Richards has just been the smoother of the two competitors,
no
and he's been conserving his rubber just that little bit more.
Yes, he has.
Richard is about to lap the 7th place car of George Elliott, number 55.
And you've got to ask, will Elliott in the Optus car say yes and let Richards through?
Which he has.
Checkered flag. Whoa, Faulkner's trying it. He slides that car, dirt tracking it out of the final turn.
Those tyres are hot.
The checkered flag comes out. Jim Richards does it. John Faulkner goes through in second place, 1.5 seconds in arrears. Sensational racing from the two of them. Jimmy Richards wins the second heat.
Did you see the dent and the damage in the side of Richards' car?
Which one?
I mean, there's so many. Look at this. There's a tire group. There's a dent. They're up alongside each other. I hope they're not shaking fists at one another.
Well, I'd say you're just sort of deciding whether they're going to have 2 sugars or 1 sugar in their coffee together when they get out of the car.
I thought it was 2 beers still. Charlie O'Brien is third, 11.81 seconds in arrears. Then comes Max Dumsey, 26.522 down. And we still wait for Barry Graham to cross the line.